Hello, everyone. We're back, and guess what? We have video.
We're here live.
We got to 10 subscribers.
More than that, right?
Oh yeah, like all the way up to like 13, I think, something like
What a robust audience. Congratulations, people. You're in for a real treat.
Yeah. So this is our studio,
Mm-hmm.
and we're ready for week 5. The DJ's
already.
podcast. Yeah, I know. Week 5. What do we got? 18 weeks. So that 30% of the season done, something like that. I always look to the sky to find what I'm trying to say.
Answers in the sky.
Yeah. All right. So we got football. We got NFL football tonight. And Josh's Bears are playing in a game against another professional football team. So there's a good chance they will lose. But let's guess the line.
Yeah, let's
do the rest of those professional football games after that one. So we have the Chicago Bears against the Washington Commanders in Washington tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I guessed that the Commanders would be favored by 7, a touchdown. What do you got?
I got 7.5 because I think better than a touchdown just makes sense. I probably would have put 50, but it is the Commanders.
All right. So we're pretty close to each other. I have 7. Josh has 7.5. So just for your information, I was going to share the spreadsheet. I was going to share the actual odds. Things get kind of bunched up, and the video of our beautiful faces was kind of cut off. So I just assumed you wanted to see us rather than spreadsheets and more spreadsheets. So
let us know in the comments if you agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you just want to see spreadsheets, we can do that too. Audio plus spreadsheets. All right. Okay, Josh has 7.5. I have 7, and the line is, it opened at 6.5, and it is 6
across the board.
Yeah. All right, so I get that one just barely. We're both pretty close. So I get that one. I don't know what to say. I think it's
2 bad teams.
Yeah, Washington's 2-2. They lost to a couple good teams, beat a couple not so good teams.
I should say people are wanting Washington to be bad, and I feel like coming into the season, people are like, Washington's going to be bad, and they're mediocre. Yeah, just different than bad.
I think Sam Howell, after 3 games, was on pace to get sacked like 20 or 30 times more than any quarterback in a single season. But I mean, you get sacked that much, he'll probably get hurt before he gets the record.
Yeah.
But it's kind of surprising that they're 2-2 if he's getting hit that much. But so you got Washington at home after an overtime game against the Eagles, and now they're playing possibly the worst team in the NFL, and it's 6 points. Some people would say, why is that not 2 touchdowns? The Bears are terrible. I don't know. Good question.
Fields' best performance of his career? I mean, that's got to be some of it, right? 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. He made some passes I didn't think he was capable of making. And I think my football ignorance is sitting there going, why can't he do that every time? I know that the Denver had like the worst secondary in the league, or one of the worst secondaries in the league, but still, when he's putting the ball in a receiver's hand in motion through a tight window, it's like he beat coverage, right? Like, why can't he do that all the time? I don't understand.
Consistently,
yeah. That's just so weird. Why some players spark like that in one game? I'm wondering though if that has something to do with this line, and if he hadn't had that game, would this line be somewhere closer to 10? Because in Washington, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely week to week, if teams are playing a little bit better, it affects the line.
Yeah.
But sometimes if I guess these on Monday, and then the Monday night game happens, and then someone plays a lot better than they were supposed to, that line shifts a little bit. So, all right, let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
We have in London. So the Jaguars are playing in London 2 weeks in a row. And they're playing against the Bills. So this is a neutral site game. The Jags have played a lot of games in London over the last, I don't know how many years.
But there's speculation that the NFL wants to move the Jags to London, and that's why they get all the London games.
Okay. All right. So we'd have one fewer team in Florida, I guess, if that happens. All right. Let's do it. I have Bills by 6.5.
I went high again. I went 7.5 because I thought the Bills, again, thinking about what happened last week. I mean, they doubled up the Dolphins. And I didn't think I just didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think the Bills were going to dominate them the way that they did, and that really, I think, opened my eyes, a lot of people's eyes, to how good that team is still. Like, I don't know why we doubted them, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a prime spot for the Bills. I think I kind of said this a little bit last week, where the Dolphins have been scoring, averaging whatever, 30
Yeah,
some points, and scored 70 the week
Yeah.
before. And, the Bills have a pretty good defense, and the Bills want to win a division
Mhm.
game, and they're jacked up because the Dolphins are crushing everyone. And it just seemed like a prime spot for the Bills to kind of take care of business. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
It started out, it was 14-14 right away. I think both teams scored touchdowns on their first two drives.
Yeah.
And then the Bills just kind of ran away with it.
Down.
Okay, so Jags and Bills. So I had 6.5, Josh had 7.5. We're both close. It opened at 5.5 and it's stuck at 5.5. So right in between a field goal and a touchdown, basically.
That's got to be the travel, right? For the Bills. That has to be, like, if this was in Jacksonville, where do you think the line would have been? Instead of London.
I'm just going to play the math game here. And you give 3 for home field.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think the Bills would have been favored by 2.5 or something like that.
Really? You think the line would have been lower?
Yeah.
Without London?
Yeah. That'd be a home game for the Jags then.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
I mean, you never know exactly, but that's what it seems to be.
Okay. See, this is probably why I'm bad at this, because I think my thought would have been go higher.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what the way I'm reading this is that it's the travel to London that's impacting the line rather than, and that impact is being more. I think yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's something to be said for that. Definitely. I mean, the travel for the Bills is more difficult. I always wonder this, and I've said this before, and I don't know how much it actually really matters, but did the Jags stay in London? Like, are they getting well accommodated, and they have their flats that they're staying in for the week, and they're just hanging out and getting in a routine and adjusted to the time change and all that? I don't know.
Bears would have flown home. I can guarantee you that. Coaching staff would have said, no, we got to go home.
They would have
be in their own bed.
They would have flown halfway home and landed on an aircraft carrier in the middle of
the Atlantic.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man, they got it down over there. I really know what's going on.
Okay, so I get that one barely. We've both been pretty close. So I'm up 2-0 this week so far. So let's
still bit in high.
Saints, the Saints at the Patriots. So I didn't watch any of this game, but Carr had that shoulder issue, but he played, and obviously he wasn't very effective. I'm drawing a blank on who they played last. Oh yeah, the Buccaneers.
Bucks, 3-1 Buccaneers. Yeah, division game.
And it was just a complete dud for the Saints. So we got Saints at the Pats or Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for this?
So I've got Pats by 6.5, and that probably should have paid closer attention to their loss this week.
Yeah, so Josh has Pats 6.5. I have Pats by 1.
Wow.
So they got the doors blown off by the Cowboys. I watched a little bit of that game. I mean, Mac Jones was like flushing himself out of the pocket when he didn't need to, and then throwing across the field, pick sixes and fumble sixes, and it was a disaster.
Not good.
If he has another week like that, I don't know, you're going to be seeing who was that quarterback that came in? Was it last year for like?
Oh yeah, there was the quarterback controversy, and they were like, people were chanting the other guy's name while he was out. Yeah, it was. I don't remember.
So whoever that guy is, I don't remember his name. He had kind of a
weird, yes,
name. Anyway, he's probably still the backup.
Yeah,
and get ready. If you're a fan of his. That guy, the nameless man, is probably going to get some action here if Mac Jones keeps sucking.
So if the Patriots are 1-8 or 1-9. Did people go, let's fire the greatest football coach ever? Did people go, it's time for him to go?
No.
I
mean, I don't think so. I don't know how you could. Like, what are you expecting to bring in? Like, You expecting to bring in someone who's just like
Matt Patricia is right there. I don't even think he's employed right now. He's waiting for the call.
bringing someone who's like more with the times, like Belichick just doesn't know how to coach anymore. Like
That's what I struggle with. It's like the guy has owned the NFL rule book for 20 years, has understood the game better than anybody because of that. And all of a sudden he just stopped. Like I don't know if it's the game. I think it's his personnel decisions that frankly have always been suspect, right? Like in between the two sets of championships, like there was a period where they were not great and there were real talent issues on that team. I'm wondering if that it just maybe has always been his weak spot.
yeah, I don't
And
know.
he's been able to paper over it.
Maybe he's overthinking it. There was a time
Maybe.
when like he was pioneering the whole,
Yeah.
they moved the kickoff forward like however many years
Mhm.
ago. And he was like, well, I'm not just gonna kick it to touchback every time. I'm gonna kick it high and land it at the 1, and then we're gonna tackle him inside the 15 a bunch of times. But you don't see anyone doing that anymore. So I don't know if the analytics were a little bit off right away or what happened, but
Hmm.
I think I've seen a total of about three kickoffs returned, like someone actually tried to run them back this whole year. You got
It's a
guys
bad play.
calling fair catches on the kickoff at the
Mhm.
1 because they just refuse to try
Yeah.
to run it back. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, there's lots of injuries on the kickoff, and nobody seems to be able to make
Nobody
it
wants
past
to
the
fumble it
25.
either, right? Nobody wants to cough up the ball there either.
Yeah, I think DJ Dallas, I think he made it to the 26.
Yeah.
So he gained 1 more yard than the touchback yardage on against the Giants this week. I think that's the only one I've seen where they actually like had a good return.
What if there's a betting line you can get on that? Like longest kick return for the week?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
that would be. Or like
probably, and it would be like the 27-yard
Yeah.
line.
to see. That would be an interesting bet.
Yeah, and then you'd see the
Oh.
Rams. You'd
Yeah.
see the Rams return one to the 30, and then
Yeah.
you'd be like, McVay, are you doing it again? All right.
Okay, so this is
let's
the Pats
find.
game,
I
right?
gotta find this one. Yeah. Okay, so it opened at Patriots 1.5.
Way off.
And it jumped around a little bit. A couple places have the Saints favored, but the most consistent line is the Patriots by 1. So I'm right on that one. So I think I'm going to institute a new thing. Like if one of us is right on, then we have to do a little spiel about why we picked it. Because obviously whatever we were thinking was spot on. So the Saints and Patriots both looked like absolute garbage last week. The Patriots obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, I didn't watch the Saints game, but I think the Patriots were worse. Like, I don't know how you play worse than that. They just got absolutely blown out. Whereas the Saints were kind of in the game most of the game. Although I don't know what it ended up that they might have lost by a touchdown or more. Yeah, so I mean, you got two teams playing kind of bad. I think you would say Derek Carr is a little bit better quarterback than Jones. The Saints probably have a little bit better defense. So fairly equal teams coming off a bad game. You don't give the Patriots 3 points at home because I wouldn't say that they're better for the reasons I just gave, quarterback and defense. So, you favor the Patriots at home, but you don't give them 3. So it's kind of right in that little window. And 1 is the line. So there you go. Let's move on.
All right.
Can't be getting long-winded. Okay. So we have the Titans at the Colts. Sunday at noon. What do you got here?
I got Colts given 3.
Colts -3 at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I went pick them. So I had Titans Colts pick them. And we have, okay, it opened at Colts 1 and it jumped over to the Titans by, I don't know. There's a 1.5, some 2s, some 2.5s. I think 1.5 is the most consistent line. So we'll call it Titans by 1.5. All right. So I get it, that one. Okay. The Titans continue to just do what they've been doing the last few years, like playing everyone tough. They just beat the Bengals. That was in Tennessee, right?
I don't know.
I think it was in Tennessee, but yeah, they took care of the Bengals, and that wasn't really close either. I think Burrow didn't throw a touchdown for the second time this year. I think he's thrown 2 touchdowns this year. Someone was saying that is, what was the line on that through 4 weeks? Burrow will throw fewer than 3 touchdowns.
It's like, I want to use the term disappointed because he's been so great, but there's clearly something off with him. That whole team is not functioning, and I'm wondering, is this the kind of thing that gets Zach Taylor fired after taking his team to back-to-back AFC Championship games? If they lay a fart this season and they're like 3-14,
Yeah.
and that guy?
No. But next year, like if that happened, next year, another not so great year, maybe. But yeah, I just don't
Certainly
think we
the
can.
slow start next year.
There's so many bad head coaches that you just can't get rid of one that did something decent.
Yeah, and it is the Bengals too, right? So they're notoriously, like, with the purse strings, they're notoriously tight, right? So they're not going to leave money out there. And they had Marvin Lewis coached for forever, and relatively and effectively, at least in the playoffs. But I don't know, man. I feel like I've already read some articles that he said he's on the hot seat. It's just really strange. Yeah.
I think you're secretly hoping for like a coach swap for the Bears. Like you want Taylor.
I mean, look, he's brought the team to the Bears have never had that consistent. They've never been to back-to-back NFC Championship games ever, and the damn trophy is named after Hallis. Never. So yes, if they had that level of consistency over a 3-year period, I'd sign me up. I would take that.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
that's Titans Colts. So I got the first 4, but I can tell you, I know I'm off on a few of these pretty bad, so I think it's going to tighten up a little bit. So next game we have Ravens at the Steelers. So I didn't double check this, but I think Kenny Pickett is not playing. So you got your boy Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky is going to take some snaps under center.
Let me tell you about Mitchell Trubisky.
And you laugh, but spot start here and there. I don't think he's been like, there are definitely worse backup quarterbacks you want for like a 1-game start when your starter's hurt. I don't know how long Pickett's going to be out, but anyway, like,
I mean, Pickett hasn't been great.
The thing about Trubisky is he's fast, right? And you don't care if he gets hurt because he's your backup.
No, to just run him like 90 like design run plays for Trubisky.
Yeah,
he was electric when he was throwing on the move. And like in Chicago, maybe there's messages from the top of Chicago, don't do exciting plays. Maybe that's it. But like they never played to that. They never catered to that. They're not doing that with Fields. And I don't know, like Tomlin's a way better coach than anybody the Bears have had in the last 30 years.
Maybe they'll do like the quadruple option with Trubisky,
a lot of trickery tonight.
Jalen Warren, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson. Although Deontay Johnson's been hurt, but maybe they'll do some really wildcat type of stuff, and I don't know, work Mitchell in there. So
put the over under on Trubisky interceptions for this game at 3.
3, really?
3 intercept, yeah.
Well, there's games when he throws it like 9 times total.
Well, that's the caveat, right? It's like, is Tomlin probably not going to let him throw? So there's probably, like I said, there'll probably be 90 run plays this year, or this game.
Well, there you go. Find your prop.
There it is.
Heard it here first. Okay, right. So Ravens at Steelers. I have this also, I guess, to pick them on the last one. I guess pick them here. I was thinking Trubisky isn't awful. It's a home game. Like, they should have a chance to win. What do you got?
I got Ravens given 5.
All right, Ravens -5. Yeah. And I think you're almost right on with that. Let's check it here. Check it. It opened at 4 and it is steady at 4. So you get that one. You're almost right on. Josh
on the board.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That is a confusing line. With the Steelers defense being as good as it is too, and just that division, which I've talked about before, it just seems like a lot of games end up close over the years.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
These teams play each other close too. Like Steelers-Ravens has been a really good rivalry because the teams have, Tomlin always has a competitive team. I mean, this year is certainly testing that. So I think you're seeing some of that, but I also think that Lamar Jackson is one of the quarterbacks, right? Like if you're talking about right now in the league who are the best, he's right there. It always is going to matter, I think, in when we're looking at the lines.
Yeah, I mean, so I said pick them. I was way off. I think they're just saying like the Steelers starting quarterbacks out. It's Trubisky.
Yeah.
Like we gotta, the Ravens have to be favored in this game.
And they're 3-1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
They're leading that division.
I'm forgetting who they played last week, but they won
Good
pretty
point.
handily, and I think that's part of this too.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see, who did they play? They played the Browns at the Browns. Watson was out, and they took care of the Browns pretty handily, I think.
And they've got a good defense too. Like Watson's not playing a defense. That defense is good.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So maybe, I mean, Lamar didn't play spectacular the first few weeks, but maybe he's found his stride after he got paid. He's pushing it forward. I'm gonna earn it on the field. Okay. We're not quite halfway through. Let's go to the next game. You have, last week I said there was 4 teams without a win. Those 4 teams played one another. Now there's 2 teams without a win. And one of them is your Carolina Panthers. And they play in Detroit against
The resurgent Lions.
Yeah, the Lions. So what do you got here?
I don't know, but I saw somebody on TikTok calling Lions Super Bowl favorites in the same breath as the Bills and the Chiefs and the Dolphins. And
not the 49ers?
And the 49ers, yeah, and the Eagles. And I was like, huh.
I saw a quote. I don't know if it was a quote. There's something about like Dan Campbell, I think, said, he's like, people are chasing us down now because we're having a good year. Well, you don't have to, or they're trying to find us or whatever. You don't have to look far or open your door. We're on your doorstep or something like that. It seemed a little corny, but
he's going to be on your doorstep. Like, honestly, I feel like Dan Campbell's going to show up on somebody's doorstep randomly. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm Dan Campbell.
I mean, if he shows up on my ring, I think I'm going to be a little bit. I don't think I'm going
to charge your kneecaps.
That's a good mentality. You're not scared of anyone.
It's working.
It seemed a little weird.
It's working.
Yeah.
Like Detroit has sucked for 50 years. like straight. I don't know. Like you needed something crazy to shake that place up, and it looks like he's doing. It's exciting, and I'm not a Lions fan. How could you be if you didn't even grow up there, or even if you did? But I don't know. 3-1, man, leading the division.
Yeah,
stomping the Packers. Somebody should be doing that. That's awesome.
I think it was, how Joe Buck and Troy Aikman do their little like stories as they're kind of coming back from commercial or whatever. But they did one about, they're asking Jared Goff about the
Jared Goff
perception that Campbell is a meathead or something like that. They're like, he's not a meathead. He's anything but. I just thought it was an interesting explanation.
He's playing the part in the media, he whether or not he's like doesn't matter, but that is the part he's decided to play for an audience for sure.
All right, let's jump into this one. So I have the Lions by 10.
I have them giving 8, so
Lions,
I the line. It is 10, I think
8.
exactly, right?
Yep. So I swear, like this says it opened at 10 and it's still 10. I thought that jumped around a little bit, but
I mean, this is one that I feel could have been 14. I just like the Panthers seem to be hapless. They seem to have chosen the wrong, which is just devastatingly huge for the Panthers. Think about this. They're battling for worst team in the league. They just traded last year to get the number 1 overall pick, to draft the quarterback that is now failing. And then they gave that this year's first round pick to the Bears, who are also battling for the worst team in the league, meaning that the Bears could end up with the number 1 and 2 overall picks in next year's draft. You believe that?
Yeah. And they showed Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
I think it was in Bears uniforms. You know how they overlay it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're going to draft 2 left guards, but anyway.
Yeah. Keep Eberflus and draft a bunch of linemen or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. A couple of free safeties, maybe. They got to make that defense work. The cover. They got to make the cover 2 work.
Yeah.
A couple of free safeties, quarterback. I don't know.
You gotta make something work. You were talking about Bryce Young and how he's failing, and I just read something that they're committed to him. Like they like the progression so far, and like
Great.
I also saw that they're trying to trade for a number one wide receiver. And then I had to check back. I'm like, are they really 0-4? Like, why are you trading for a receiver now unless they think they can retain a good receiver at like a good price next year?
You know who's good? DJ Moore's really good.
Yeah. No, Claypool got mentioned actually. They said maybe they're thinking they can like
Oh my God.
maybe they're thinking Claypool could be a number one. I mean, it was obviously a joke, but yeah, he got mentioned in there. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Nothing good.
I don't think they thought they were going to be great this year anyway. So
Low expectations, but look at though. The problem is if you look at what CJ Stroud is doing, because they could have had CJ Stroud, and are they 2-2? Or that whole division I think is 2-2.
I think they're 2-2. They just crushed the Steelers.
They could have had him, so there's no way they can be happy with his progression if the guy they could have had is already better. They can't be happy. They can say they're happy, they're not happy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you have to say that to.
They literally have to say that, but they're not happy.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Fast forward to next year, week 5. Are the Panthers 0-4 again, or are they 3-1, or what are they? You take notes and be ready when the time comes. Okay. Let's move on. I think so there are buys this week, by the way. So there are is there 14 games this week? There's 14 games this week.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 teams on bye. So not as many games to go through. But just, a lot of you that play fantasy obviously know that. I have 2 of my running backs on bye this week. So that's.
Wait, buys factor into fantasy?
Yeah, you actually, your players who don't play don't get any points that week.
No wonder I'm struggling.
There hasn't
That's good to
been
know.
any buys yet, though.
Just overall, I've been playing fantasy for 20 years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You've been perpetually struggling. Got it. Didn't factor in the buys.
But I'm bumped.
I mean, it's one thing to not factor in the buys during the draft. Some people just don't look at that.
They don't. Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Can be fine.
Sure.
But during the season, you're going to want to factor.
Gotta pay for. Okay, gotta pay attention to that. Okay, that's good. Good advice. See, come here for all the best fantasy advice. Yeah. Buys matter during the season.
Yeah. Okay. You talked about the Texans. So they got a game this week. They're gonna go play the Falcons, who are off a drubbing in London, flying back.
Yeah.
Texans at Falcons. I have the Texans by 1. What do you have?
I have the Falcons giving 2.5.
Okay. So Josh has Falcons by 2.5. I have Texans by 1. I think you get this one. Falcons. It opened at 2.5, so you were right on. There's a little movement towards the Texans, so we'll call it Falcons by 2. Okay, so you pretty much nailed that one right on. I'm a little surprised. I thought they'd give a slight nod to the Texans. I think these two teams are somewhat equal. Like they seem fairly equal to me. I think the way Stroud's played, I just thought they would give him a little bit of a nod or favor him by a little bit.
I think you're seeing that in the 2, right? Because if they're giving the home team the field goal just sort of automatically, I think the Texans' credit is coming in that they're not getting that full field goal. I think honestly, I like the Texans to win this game. I think I'm putting that on the quarterback. They've got an emerging quarterback who seems to be doing all the right things, and the Falcons are still kind of struggling there. I think that offense, Ritter, he's been in the league for at least a year or 2 years, maybe even at this point. He's not shown the progression that Stroud has showed in 4 games. So I think the Falcons are going to lose.
Yeah, I actually, just because the Falcons are favored and I didn't think they were going to be, I think there's something with that. I go the opposite. I think the Falcons are going to win. And I think the matchup, like the Texans' run defense, I don't think is great. And Bijan Robinson is kind of primed for a breakout game. He didn't do much of anything against the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to run the ball and control the game a little bit. But part of me says, like, Stroud's played a lot better than Ritter. Like, if that's close late in the game, like, who do you think's going to win the game? At that point, I don't know. You'd have to think that Stroud and the Texans would win, but so that's my split personality take on this Texans Falcons game. So Josh thinks the Texans will win. I think the Falcons will win. It's basically
You heard it here first. That's right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll follow up on it next week.
Game to watch. Like, would you watch this game if you had all the games? Would this be one you'd want to watch?
I would, just because I don't think I've watched a minute of a Texans game yet, and I'm missing out on like
emerging great quarterback, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Most valuable commodity in the NFL.
Yeah. So get the Texans game on. Go. Let's play some good ball.
Pay for it.
Let's go. All right, we're halfway done. Josh got 2 of the last 3, so it's 5-2 me. We're gonna go. Whoa. The New York has 2 football teams. Well, they kind of have. I don't know.
They've got 3 technically, like, because Buffalo's in New York.
Oh yeah, but New York
City.
Although they play in Jersey, don't they?
No, they share the stadium. Don't they share that new
Where's
stadium?
MetLife though? Technically,
I don't think it's in New Jersey, is it?
I don't know.
I don't think the New York.
That would make any sense.
No,
but I thought I heard that at some point.
I think they play in this. I think it's in somewhere in actual New York City.
If we didn't say something extremely stupid, at least one thing each episode, the millions of viewers just wouldn't come back.
No, they wouldn't,
because that's what they're waiting for.
It's okay. I've said at least 3. So on this iteration alone, so I think we've covered.
But what I was getting at is New York City has 2 football teams, but they kind of don't really have any football teams because both of them are kind of lousy. Although the Jets, like Zach Wilson played, I would say the best
game of his life
played until he forgot to look at the ball when it was being hiked to him. Like they had a real chance to beat the Chiefs, and he was that one drive, he was throwing back shoulders in between 2 in between 2 D-backs, and he threw 4 throws in a row that were like elite quarterback throws. And then that was kind of it. But to see him actually be able to do that, you got to think that they have more confidence in him than they did at the start of the game. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, we're not talking about the Jets. We're talking about the Giants, and they play at the Dolphins. Fresh off their first loss in Buffalo. The Giants were horrendous. Jones got sacked, 9 times, 11 times, something like that.
Coach yelling at the quarterback, never a good sign.
Yeah, throwing the surface on the bench. Like,
those are expensive.
Did you see this guy? He was open. You got to throw it to him. Daniel Jones is like not even listening to him, and then he throws the surface.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Daniel Jones was like he was never the right quarterback. He just wasn't, and I'm not. I mean, we saw a little bit last year that Daboll was able to come in and give him some juice, but they're going to move on from him this year, I think.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell if Daboll's a good coach or not. You'd think he maybe is because of what he did last year, but Barkley was also healthy last year. And their defense was playing well. Their defense is still decent, but when you get sacked 100,000 times and your defense can't hold up for too long. Their left tackle was out, and their center got hurt on the first play of the game, I think. Tried to gut it out, and then he ended up coming out. So then their guard moved to center. So basically their offensive line was a disaster, and Jones just kept falling down when the Seahawks were hitting him. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They're called sacks.
Yes, they are.
If you have the ball.
Okay. Not a good thing for a quarterback to have.
Giants at the Dolphins. I have Dolphins by 10.5.
And I have Dolphins by giving 10.
Ooh, we were close together there. And it is
11.5.
11. Opened at 11.5. Came down to 11 is the most consistent line. Okay. I'm going to get that one just barely. I don't. Some of you are probably wondering why it's not 20, just because the Giants have been so bad. Um, 11, more than a touchdown, basically halfway between a touchdown and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Do they think that the Giants can keep up with the Dolphins a little bit? I'm not really sure.
It is weird because we've seen lines for the Dolphins this season better than this, right? Like bigger than this. Like there was a few weeks ago, didn't they have like a 14-point line? Or was that the Chiefs against the Bears? But they've had bigger lines. Like I agree. It's weird to me that you're not gonna put the gap, like the line as big as you can between these two teams until the Dolphins show. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're reacting just to the loss. And maybe that's it. It's like they lost the game, so we're not going to give them 14 points. Weird.
Yeah,
Strange.
I don't know. I think the reason why I didn't go higher is I think Barkley's supposed to be back.
Yeah.
And part of me says they can run the ball a little bit and maybe play better after just a horrible loss, like the whole motivation factor. But
they're on the road.
I mean, 11 is still a lot for an NFL game like that. You know, a lot of games are close, even when you don't expect them to be. So, but you got that sun in Miami, remember, on the sideline, on the visitor sideline.
The heat.
I don't know.
Yep.
You might see that creep up to 14 before kickoff because the heat factor.
That feels like the right line to me. 14.
Yeah. I don't know. Although it went the other way. Who knows? I don't know. If I don't know, we're just gonna move on.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So now we got Joey Burrow and his Bengals are traveling to Arizona, and they're gonna play the Cardinals in a football game. I have Bengals by 3 at the Cardinals.
What's the other way? I got Cardinals by 2.5.
So if this was week 1, this line would be Bengals at least a touchdown, if not more, I would say.
Oh,
but the Cardinals have played.
They beat the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
The Cowboys.
And they were somewhat competitive with the 49ers. They ended up losing by like 19, but
I mean, the 49ers may be the best team in the league right now. I mean, them and the Eagles are undefeated, but
well, Dolphins and Chiefs,
and Bills, right? Because the Bills just beat it. Playoffs are going to be good this year, man. Exciting.
I was looking ahead. I think the Chiefs play the Dolphins on November 4th or 5th.
Shit. Okay. Live stream.
Yeah, we're gonna do a show. No, we're not.
Live from Buffalo.
No. But yeah, that'd be a good game. I feel like there hasn't been that many good games where 2 above average teams are playing each other this year. I guess maybe there's just too many mediocre to bad teams in the league.
And again, I think that's what the lines are telling us, right? As close as a lot of these lines have been over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the Bengals. It opened at 5, Bengals by 5, and it jumped down to 3. So it is. So I guess. Well, I get that one. I'm right on, but I wasn't on when it first came out. Okay. Bengals by 3. As good as the Cardinals have played, overachieved what they were expecting. That one. So some of these lines, like when I'm guessing some of these lines, it's like, what's the highest I think it could be? What's the lowest I think it could be? And I kind of just middle it. This one, it just seemed like people still think the Bengals are the better team. So you just give them 3, even at Arizona, you just give them 3. They're not playing well, so you don't go crazy with it. It's just 3, and it just seemed like a fair line to me. It obviously it opened at 5 and it jumped down to 3, so Vegas was saying it should be 5, and then people with lots of money who think they know what's going on are saying no, it should be lower than that.
That means they're putting money on the
Cardinals. Yeah. So I don't know. There you have it. Let's move on.
All right.
We got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. I think Cooper Cup of Soup is going to be back this week. They said he practiced in full, even though it said limited.
Yeah.
And they have the window, he was on IR or whatever. So they have the 21-day window to activate him. I think you're going to see today or tomorrow they're going to activate him, and he's going to play, even if it's just a limited snap count. I think he's going to play this week. So The Rams are what, 2-2?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, they were up on the Colts 23-0. The Colts. Okay, so I'm gonna spend a little time on this. So team's up by 24 or 23, right? Then the team that's losing scores a touchdown, and you think, if you're rooting for that team, you're like, if they get 3 2-point conversions, they can take the lead or they can tie it. And it never, ever, ever happens.
No.
Like, it's just hard to, well, first of all, score 3 touchdowns without the other team scoring, and then get the 2-point every time. It's just hard to have that many good 2-point plays that work. So they scored, got the 2-point, scored, kicked the extra point, scored, and got the 2 points. So now it's 23-23, goes to overtime, and then Stafford's just hobbling around with his hip contusion, and he finds Puka Nacua down the seam, and he rumbles into the end zone for the win. So they're 2-2 without Cooper Kupp. Their receivers, a lot of people didn't know the names of their receivers to start the year.
Now they do, though.
Kyren Williams, the running back, has been playing really well, although he's kind of banged up now too. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the Rams are 2-2 and they're getting cut back. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs this year. I mean, it just seems like they're good enough to do that.
I mean, they've got one of the best coaches in the league, right? Like, out of the gate, in his first 5 years, he went to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. So,
yeah, and he's like 26 years old, isn't he?
I mean, he was when he was made the coach. I think he was the youngest coach in the league by like years. I think he was actually still the youngest coach in the league last year. I don't know if that's still true this year.
McDaniel and O'Connell, and I'm trying to think. There's
Staley might even be younger than him, the Chargers guy. No, that's not true.
I don't
Staley
think he is.
No, he couldn't be.
But anyway, I think McVay's like, he might not even be 40.
No, I think he's like 37 or 38.
Hey, that's how old I am. Maybe I could be a coach for the Bears.
No. Believe me, the Bears be happy to have you.
Okay, Eagles at the Rams. I have Eagles by 3. What do you got?
I got them by 4. I'll give them 4 points. Yeah.
Okay, Eagles by 3. Eagles by 4. I think you're gonna get that one.
Looks like it's 4.5.
Yeah, opened at 4, went up to 4.5. Josh gets that one. So the Eagles struggled with the Commanders. That was in Philadelphia, I think. People probably didn't really expect that.
Division game.
Now they're flying across the country. They're going to play the Rams.
Yeah.
And they're still favored by 4.5. Obviously I thought it would be 3. I thought it would be a little lower. I guess it's a fair line. I don't know. I thought the Rams would be very competitive in this game. I figured it would be lower. I don't know what to say.
I mean, I think what we're seeing is the cross-country travel, and I think some of this is still uncertainty about what the Rams really are. They're winning. They haven't wowed anybody this year. And so I think that's what's impacting this line.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Eagles are flying to the West Coast, but Stafford is a little banged up. Kyren Williams is a little banged up.
Yeah.
Kupp's coming back, maybe on a snap count. I don't know. I mean, I guess the Eagles, until someone beats them, you kind of just
undefeated,
whatever. You
give
them a little more juice than maybe some people think they deserve. But that's the line. Let's move on. Let's go to the New York Football Jets at the Denver Broncos. I have Jets by 3.5.
I have Jets by 1.5.
Okay, let's see what we got. Jets are, the Broncos, it opened at Broncos 1.5, and it is still Broncos 1.5.
Weird.
Okay. Josh gets that one. Right. Okay. The Broncos are favored.
That's just got to be because they're home.
In a football game.
Yeah, just because they're home.
So, yeah, I guess.
Jets are not great. Everybody dislikes Zach Wilson. So.
Yeah. So I'm way off on this. The way Wilson played last week and with that defense, it seems like anyone can score on the Broncos. But then you put the Broncos up against a very good defense, one of the
Mhm.
best. It just seems like the Jets should come out of that game as a winner. And I don't know how you trust the Broncos. So what do I know? I was way off. That's just my perspective on that game.
Hmm.
What do you think? You were closer.
I mean, I think I picked the Jets because the Broncos are bad, and I know they're going across country. I think keeping it at 1.5 made sense because as bad as the Jets have been, they've certainly shown more life than the Broncos. And just going back to their game last week, they were competitive against the Chiefs. Had they won, the Jets would have had wins over the Bills and the Chiefs,
With
which are
Zach Wilson playing.
right. And those are the two dominant, AFC Super Bowl contenders outside of, and have been for the last 3 or 4 years. So that would have been incredible, right? Yeah, I think people are still trying to figure the Jets out because had Rodgers been healthy, this line is probably what, 9, 10 if Rodgers is playing.
Oh yeah, with the current state of the Broncos.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
well, it's hard to say how.
Yeah, I mean,
But
right.
yeah,
If he had played like Rodgers has historically played,
At least
at
seven.
least, yeah, right. So that team is still good, right? I think that's where this line is living. I don't think anybody expects the Broncos to legitimately win this game, but
Well, Vegas does because they're actually favored. But so yeah, I mean, go chew on that one.
Yeah,
If anyone can figure
that's
that
true.
one, let us know.
that's right. The Vegas does feel that they're, but
Put your prediction in the comments.
yeah,
And if you're right, well, we don't have any
no,
prizes.
I
to
still
give
go
away,
Jets here though.
But
But this is the kind of game that's probably decided by like a field goal, right? Like as time winds down, as the ineptitude of both teams takes over.
yeah, maybe I could see the Jets smothering the Broncos offense for a while, and then it's
Okay.
just
Defense.
but is the Jets offense gonna be able to score too? Like,
I mean, Fields did. Fields put up, and he's like been the worst quarterback in the league. So I mean, that does like
Yeah.
maybe this is a coming out party for Zach Wilson. He did it against a much better defense last week.
Yeah,
So
I think like if you try to analyze this game too much,
Yeah.
you just like you just shouldn't. I mean, two inconsistent, weird, kind of bad teams. Just move on.
you're watching this game then? No. You had
Yeah,
access to
this
it?
will
Would
be
you
on
watch
my
it?
16th monitor.
Okay, so no.
Okay,
Not viewing it.
what's this? Guess what? We got the Chiefs at the Vikings, and your boy's gonna be there in
Oh,
attendance. My mom's 70th birthday.
happy birthday!
Never been to US Bank. She's a huge
Oh.
Vikings fan. We're going to the game. I'm starting to think, I don't know, why are we going? We're gonna be disappointed, but hey,
No,
it'll be a pretty
experience.
cool memory if the
Yeah.
Vikings can somehow beat the Chiefs. I don't see it happening, and Vegas doesn't either. I have the Chiefs by 6.5. What do you have?
I have them giving 8.
Josh has
A lot of
Chiefs by
Chiefs love.
8,
A lot of Chiefs love for me.
and it is. It opened at 5, and it went down to 4. Okay, so Chiefs by 4. I get that one. What? I don't know why it's that low.
It's a really weird line. I mean, the Vikings just won their first game of the season, and they're at home, so maybe that's it. And then maybe the Chiefs struggles against the Jets.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. The Vikings aren't going to the Super Bowl this year. Fun fact. So this is kind of their Super Bowl at this point, right? Like they just got to win, but the Chiefs are coming to town, right? You're in front of your home crowd. Like, I think the idea is you just think they're going to be competitive. Every game they've played again this year has been a 1-score game, I think, and they're obviously 1-3, but I suppose I mean, you just think that they're gonna keep it close but not win. So it's 4. In a way, I guess that's fair. I just like the Chiefs historically, knowing the Vikings, how they kind of play against these elite teams. I just don't see the Vikings winning this game, but I hope they do. Score!
Upset. Let's go.
By the way, I'm repping my Minnesota Twins shirt.
Yeah,
Some
sweet.
some of you probably know why. They just got their first playoff series victory in 21 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't playing the Yankees. They've lost like 147 games in a row to playoff games to the Yankees in a row, something like that. I might be a little off. But they beat the Blue Jays 2-0. Okay, enough on that. Just had to give it.
We had the game on our on the TV last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had baseball on in forever, but there was nothing else to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had it on. And my son looked at it for like 30 seconds. It held his interest. And I was like, oh, maybe he does like it.
If you're not a big baseball fan, just turn it on in the ninth inning if the Twins are up by 1 or 2, because their closer throws a splitter.
Oh, dude.
He throws a splitter that's 97, 98.
Filthy. He was so good last night, man. Oh, wow.
And if you think I'm wrong on that one, if you think that was my blunder comment of the week,
No.
go look it up. It actually happened.
He's
I don't
good.
know how he does it. I don't know how you hit that pitch. I think you just take it and hope that it's
So good.
below the zone. But
So
anyway, that's my
That was
baseball snippet for the week.
fun.
Okay,
Baseball, guys.
now I said, where are the good games? How come there's not good teams playing each other?
Uh,
Okay, so there is. It's the Cowboys and the Niners. What? Yeah, they're gonna play out in California, I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have Cowboys at 49ers.
We have the same. We're the same.
I have 49ers by 5.5,
So do I.
which is a weird guess in a way, because it's in between, it's not 3, it's not 4, it's not 7. And we both have 5.5. So obviously we're going to tie that. And I'm pretty sure it's lower than that. Let's check it out. It opened at 4.5 and it is 3.5 most places. So,
Yeah.
So here's what I'll say about this, if I can get this in there. Okay, so more than a field goal, less than a touchdown. So whether this line is 3.5 to 6 or 6.5, it's kind of a lot of those, like if you cover, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but basically like it's in that little window, right? Like a lot of games end at a field goal or a lot of games end at a touchdown. Well, whether it's 5.5 or 3.5 or whatever it is in between there, it's kind of all the same in a way.
Vegas doesn't know, right? It's 3.5, so it's the standard touchdown plus a half a point.
Field goal plus half point. Yeah.
Yes. Field goal. Yeah, that's how this reads. Is that we're not sure, and I don't know, man. Like I think the thing that why they get that half a point is because the Cowboys had that really stinky game that they lost against the Cardinals.
Yeah,
and that was an early one to lose to what was supposed to be a bad team. And their injury to their cornerback.
I thought it would be higher. The 49er, like these teams are fairly similar. Like they have really good defenses.
Yeah.
And I mean, very solid offenses, lots of playmakers on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the 49ers have been more consistent.
No question.
And they're at home. I just thought it would be higher.
Yeah, I did too.
And I think the
Niners are the better team. I don't think there's any question of that. I mean, even just marginally better, but
right. And I think did they beat the Cowboys in the playoffs last year? Or did the Cowboys lose to someone else? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Anyway, we don't need to dwell on something we don't know. You don't need to see us look up at the ceiling for anyway.
Yeah.
49ers by 3.5. Yeah.
One to watch.
Flip that one on. So I believe that's the Sunday night game too. So that
yes. Good for everybody. Everybody gets that game.
Yeah. Good primetime game. And then, whatever. Someone's quarterback will get hurt and then it'll be like a 20-point game. And we thought it was going to be this great game and it isn't. I don't know. That's just me being a pessimist maybe, but tune in, at least for the beginning. All right. Last game. Packers. Complete dud at home against the Lions last Thursday. So we got the Packers at the Raiders. Garoppolo didn't play last week. The Raiders almost, I have to spend a minute on this. Staley, okay, so I'm jumping around a little bit. The Chargers played the Raiders. The Chargers coach, Staley, is notorious for going for it on 4th and short at like
anywhere in the field.
Well, yeah, including his own 25-yard line. He did it against the Vikings, didn't get it. Vikings threw an interception. Should like basically gave them the game, and the Vikings obviously screwed it up. But okay, so he escaped. Against the Raiders, same thing. They're at their own 30 or something like that. They go for it. I think it was a quarterback sneak, and they don't get it. And his defense bails him out again with a pick right on the goal line. Like, I don't know if he's like backing these decisions up by saying, I'm a defensive coach. I know my defense is going to shut him down even if we don't get it, blah, blah, blah. But you can only screw that up so many times before like you get fired. I mean, like he could have gained 50 yards on a punt and had a rookie quarterback. I think O'Connell's a rookie quarterback for the Raiders, have to go however many, like 75 yards and score a touchdown with like, I don't know, less than 2 minutes to go. Or you can say, like, yeah, no, we're going for it. And obviously you don't have very good plays for 4th and 1 because you can't convert, and then turn the ball over and just have your defense bail you out. I don't know how many times that needs to happen before Staley gets fired, but
this year,
if you like a long shot on first coach to get fired, you might want to take a peek at that.
That's a really good, because like last year there was all kinds of rumblings about who was going to get fired, and then it was Hackett, like in his first year getting canned, like what is it, 6, 7, 8 games in. It's a fun game to play. I mean, it's sad because people lose their jobs, but I mean, betting standpoint is kind of fun.
Okay, so we have the Packers at the Raiders. I'm assuming Garoppolo has cleared concussion protocol, but I don't really know. I haven't looked at it that closely. So anyway, I have the Raiders at home by 3. I'm just saying, okay, these teams are pretty much equal. That's what I said anyway.
I got Packers by 3. You're giving 3.
Okay, so Josh has Packers favored by 3. I have Raiders favored by 3. It is Packers by 1. It opened at 1. It's 1 everywhere. So Josh gets that one. And that's the last game of the week. So I won 8-5. Pretty competitive week. Why are the Packers favored on the road?
I think people don't like Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I think he makes some weird decisions in games. I'm not huge on LaFleur as like a pure head coach, but I think he's a better coach than McDaniels.
He certainly had more success.
I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I just figured you'd give the Raiders 3 and it's Packers 1. So something's going on there. Vegas likes the Packers.
Don't like the hometown team.
If you can figure out why, let me know. Let us know.
Put it in a.
By the way, today we are being fueled by Monster Rehab.
Not sponsored, but could be.
Not sponsored yet.
Could be. Open to the idea, Monster.
They said you have 1.5 million viewers. We need you up to 2.5 million before we will give you that sponsor.
Actually, it's a decimal error. It's like 11.5, but still.
Oh,
still really.
I should follow up with them.
Alan. It's just a decimal point. Who cares?
All right. We got a little long-winded again. 14 games this week. That's it for this week. Week 5 in the books. We'll see you next week for week 6.
So long.
I apologize if the video quality isn't spectacular. First time doing this. Once we get more of our editing team hired, things will get better.
Production crew up and running. Yep.
So we'll see you next week. Go Vikings! Go Bears!